People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning in each and every time. Obviously, good evening, like I said, and I hope you're all well and safe. I hope you've all dealt with what you've needed to deal with today, and the most important thing is health and whatnot. But I've got some things to speak about. The first thing I've got to speak about, I've actually just saw this report. Let's cut the nonsense and the waffling. Apparently, Arsenal's hierarchy are keen to bring Arsene Wenger back. Now, in what role that is or what capacity bringing Wenger back, we don't know. Now, depending on how you look at Arsenal, and I'm not going to tell someone what they can and can't do, but that name either fills you with a lot of anger because, let's cut the crap, there was a lot of years Wenger needed to make that divorce from Arsenal. I feel personally, you lot know me, big Arsene Wenger fan, can wax lyrical about him, forget football, just his outlooks on life. He's actually a big reason as to why I make YouTube vids. But I personally felt the last couple of years Wenger was here, he had a very hard time differentiating what is best for Arsenal Football Club and what is best for Arsene Wenger. Before that, obviously, he's brought us titles, he's brought things to Arsenal, not just the league. He's a hallmark in football, not just the Premier League, he's a hallmark in football. When you talk about development of players, yeah, people can talk their nonsense, but you know what Wenger was on. 70 years of age, apparently want to bring him back. Now, many people will probably cry, oh, director of football and things like that. I don't know what could happen, but I doubt Wenger is going to return in anything more than just an ambassador role. First and foremost, I know because of his age and because of the role at FIFA he's got, it is hands-on, but it's not as hands-on as day-to-day management, really and truly. That's a fact. So I guess in theory he could combine that with an official role at Arsenal, but I can't think of anything other than an ambassador. He's been, whatever you have to say about the man, he's brought us to another level. He's synonymous with the history of this football club. Obviously, to recognise that, if he's an ambassador and whatnot, then cool. If there's some sort of role we can find for him around developing players, putting arms around players, you know, the Jojos, the Guendouzis and players like that, or just being a sort of father figure and a familiar face around the ground, I'm all for that. You're hearing Arteta, unlike his predecessor in Emery, he's very keen to employ former Arsenal players and not just people like that, people that have done bits at this club. He's trying to create some sort of dynasty thing. So maybe a bit of this is a bit of this rumour is probably nonsense and a bit of it is because of them reports there. But I can't see him being a director of football or any sort of decision-making process because you've got Raul. We've already seen there's a lot of chefs in the pot anyways, and you can imagine Raul, Edu, Vinay, none of them agree on everything. Mislintat already kept it moving. Do you get what I'm saying, people? There could be other people behind the scenes. Wenger, who, you know, Arsenal and Wenger, that's another stronger personality to throw in there. And you can already see if Raul's director of football, whatever he is, they're going to have some sort of conflict. Edu the same and whatnot. You know, Wenger was very much stuck in his ways. You could say Raul and these lot are of a different approach. It would, you know, bring that. Obviously, I think a lot of fans would get behind Wenger and whatnot. And when you look at it, you can't help but admire what he's done for this club, but there is also a bit of contempt. If he was given some sort of role again in the club, you know, there's certain people that will skate. Apologies, people. Ten minutes, bro. Apologies for that, but you know, with Wenger, and even though I think Glazidis did nothing well for this club, you could say they were scapegoats because depending on how you look at it, they were the familiar faces to point the blame on. If Wenger's back there, then you get what we're saying. You can see where I'm going with it, people. I don't think it's anything other than an ambassador role and them sort of things. They're similar to what Manchester United have over a lot of their former players and things. So I don't really think it's going to be anything like that. If we can give Wenger a young role or when we're trying to sign players, because one thing I know Wenger failed to sign a lot of players. But you know, if Wenger sits you in a room, imagine as a footballer, all players know, if Wenger sits you in a room and he talks about your ability, he knows how to seduce people in the footballing terms, not a funny man thing, but in the footballing terms, if we can give him some role where, you know, when Raul and you lot do what you want to do, let's lock them in a room with Wenger, let him gas them about Arsenal and whatnot, then cool, come to the club and whatnot. But if it's not that, and they're putting an arm around young players, then I think it's a myth, people. So it is what it is in that regards, man. I just don't see how he would fit it in, how he'd combine the roles. And because of the year's service he's given to this club, like he said, he's an Arsenal fan. Enjoy it as a fan. Wenger looks younger now that he's called it a day from management. The wrinkles are going, he's looking more energetic and stuff. And you see a lot of managers, once they leave one role, you know, they look like they've got a spring in their steps. He's done his thing, man. Enjoy it. Just stay away from the club beyond being a fan or an ambassador. He's done his thing for the club. We just need to leave it there, people. Moving away from that as well, people, I think Matteo Guendouzi has had some comments to say. Before I carry on with Guendouzi's comments, Arsenal's 5th FA Cup round tie against Portsmouth will be played on Monday the 2nd of March, 7:45 kickoff, which now means rushing home on the central line and all these things just to get home to watch the Arsenal. Wish you lot could play this on the weekend and actually care about normal working citizens who love football clubs and just stop scheduling these things for TV. Not just this, but everything, really and truly. But moving away from that, Guendouzi has had something to say, and he said, "The fans definitely expect different things from me now. I arrive as a new player, a young player who had just arrived and who was unknown. I've shown that I can help the team, so it's normal they expect a bit more from me." Apologies, people. I need to blow my nose. I'm gonna, yeah. I think that I have a certain status in the team now. I've been able to show that I can perform well, so now I need to be consistent, always help the team, always give my best, and always play well on the pitch. Bless me, people. That was a madness. Always before I come on videos, I start sneezing, making man know that I have a madness. But I like that from Guendouzi, because one thing he's got is courage. I think at times he needs to not let the courage become over enthusiasm and whatnot, like you see with unnecessary yellow cards and handbags. I love that, but I hate it at the same time. And he's completely right. I still think it's a testament to him that people forget his age and he's become a regular player in the team. He's lost his space now. I think he can be a decent player for us. I've sang his praises enough times. He's at the age, regardless of his age, obviously he plays football. There's analysis and all these things. He can go back and see what he's doing wrong. For me, I think he's got a lovely passing range. I'd love to see Arteta get that more in him, and I think he wants to make the difference for the team in as such, because he's a bit of a passion merchant. All the big games, he's been up for it, regardless of if he's been bad or good. You've never seen Guendouzi look scared, people, and you need to be on it. But I think defensively is where a lot of his problems are, especially if you're going to be a defender. He likes to get forward. He gets caught high up the field. I feel he gives away unnecessary fouls. At times, I don't feel he's strong enough in defensive situations. Obviously, he's a young player, so his consistency is going to be a bit like that. There were spells earlier on in this season and during his campaign as an Arsenal player where he's been first name on the team sheet, one of the difference makers. And obviously, he's had a bit of a wobble. So it's good that he recognises these sort of things, and yeah, man, hopefully he improves. There's a lot of improvement to be made. Obviously, what specific midfield role are you, and you're going to lock down first? Can you improve defensively? Can you challenge for a team as a first team shirt? I believe in Guendouzi. I think if he works hard, he can be a regular player here and get a couple of France caps. I'm not here to say a man can be world class, this, that, and the other. I think, like I said, the biggest thing is that people forgotten he's 20. He's shown more courage than a lot of man. Turning the corner under Arteta, but a lot of men that was here and I've seen their heads drop and sink and be scared. I saw a young man from the 2nd division in France be on it. I really like Guendouzi and I like that courage, man. He's not afraid, people. So we were crying for a player like that. Of course, he's not going to sell shirts. He's not going to score winners. He's going to frustrate, and it's down to him to, you know, work on what he's good at and also minimise what he's bad at and whatnot. But I think there's a player of some stature in there, man. Moving away from that, and finally, people, Bielsa has had something to say on Eddie Nketiah. Now, Eddie, it's important to remember before I carry on, people, Eddie Nketiah made 19 appearances for Leeds. He scored 5 goals and he bagged 3 in the Championship. 17 of the 19 games, I believe, came in the Championship. 2 was obviously in the Cup competition. But Bielsa's spoken, and he's been a bit grumpy, really, I'm sure Leeds fans would say, in recent presses. Maybe that's through not having another striker to move with. If only you had a striker that came from Arsenal on loan and you actually gave him opportunities to start, people. Before I even carry on, I've got in front of me his games courtesy of Transfermarkt, and he's what he made a couple of starts. He didn't complete 90 minutes. The closest he got was 81 against Birmingham. Yeah, man, not too many starting appearances. Yeah, it's not really been. It wasn't the loan spell really to do anything. And he has said apparently he's criticised Eddie Nketiah allegedly because of cutting his loan spell short. And he has said more or less that he's accused Eddie Nketiah of underestimating what Leeds is as a club. Not that I think Eddie Nketiah would do that, because for one, he's in direct contact with Ian Wright, and you saw a lot of the videos and you heard Ian Wright speak before he went on loan. Now he was, in contact. You think Ian Wright's gonna let you go to a club like Leeds? Come on now, come on now. Leeds are not in the are not in the Premier League and stuff. But you know what Leeds is. It's a big club. And Eddie Nketiah is no idiot. People around him would have briefed him. Leeds is a big team that belongs in the Championship. So, again, this might be the papers gassing it and mixing a man's words. So, Bielsa, forgive me. I've got nothing but respect for you. But I think that's very disrespectful to accuse Eddie Nketiah of underestimating Leeds as a club, people. Anyways, moving on from that. Allegedly, on a very funny one, he said he sent him a message when he played for Leeds' under-23s congratulating him, and the next day he left. I mean, what do you expect? Just look at the statistics. I'm sure he's learned a lot under you from a manager's point of view, fighting for a team shirt. He looks a bit more on the defensive art of the game, and his hold-up play looks slightly better in the 2 appearances or so he's made. So he's undoubtedly learned a lot from his experience. But if we were to just criticise it and look at his Leeds loan spell on a black and white basis, did you play enough games, 90 minutes? Was you given a platform to really improve? And the answer is no. Of course, Eddie had some great moments where he scored and he continued the whole, dial Eddie if you score and whatnot. And he's shown he can be an important player. But he just couldn't dislodge Patrick Bamford, for whatever reason. So you can't begrudge him for wanting to keep it moving. And at the time, looked like he was heading on loan to other clubs. Bristol City were linked, couple Prem sides and all of these things. Arteta saw him, said, yo, I'm going to keep you for the season. Eddie, for whatever reason, said, I'm going to stay. And he scored a goal in the FA Cup. It's just down to him for now until the end of the season to complicate matters for Arteta and show Arteta, yo, I know there's question marks over Lacazette and Aubameyang. I know you've just signed Martinelli, but I'm Eddie Nketiah. I've come through Arsenal's academy. I can be used. That's what he's got. Why would he want to stay at Leeds and waste time? Of course, the loan spell could have changed. Seasons are funny. Some man, how many times have we seen at clubs, people? A man might not play any part of the season. Then it comes to the tail end. Injuries might happen, and they become the man that sells shirts. Apologies, people. They become the man that sells shirts and gets all the headlines. That might have happened for Eddie if he was patient. But I think he was patient enough. I think he worked hard. You never saw any reports that Eddie was upset and carrying on a certain sort of way at Leeds. Apologies for that, people. I had to switch batteries. But like I said, man, he kept his head up. Eddie kept working. And you can't begrudge him. He's worked hard. All you can do is work hard from Monday to Friday in the week and hope you start on the weekend, in which it wasn't happening. He has to be selfish. He can't care about Arsenal. He can't actually even care or give a crap about Arsenal getting top 4 and things. And what I mean by that is, all Eddie needs to do, obviously he wants to play for Arsenal and things, but this season and beyond, like many young players, he needs to just care about his development. Obviously, I'm not saying people that understand football understand what I'm talking about, innit? So I'm not going to expand anymore. But he needs to be selfish. Yo, can I make inroads at Arsenal? Okay, F Leeds then. Am I going to play games? Minutes are currency. Where best am I going to get 90 minutes? In August, it weren't looking like it was going to happen at Arsenal. So he kept it moving on a temporary basis. Weren't looking like it's happening at Leeds mid-season. And it's how many weeks has it been? I was one of the few people, these YouTubers, that try and do this, loan reporting and, and whatnot. I'm watching Leeds when I can, more or less week in, week out. I'm not seeing him start games. Some games he's not even involved. He might get a little 5 minutes. It's wasting my time. That's the most depressing thing, people. When I go and try and watch these players like Osei Tutu and Amici, a former player, their teams are facing each other on BT. Man's logged in now, and none of them are playing. It's mad. These sort of things happen. Eddie didn't. At the end of the day, when January the 1st came, people, can Eddie have woke up that day and said, yo, I'm a far better player than I was 6 months or whatever mathematically it is down the line, previously, on August the 1st, and say I'm a better player for this? It weren't looking like so we had to keep it moving. But moving forward, he said, Eddie arrived here because Leeds was the ideal place to grow, because it was me who was going to coach him. I know who I am. I don't believe those messages. Everything around the Eddie transfer was a lie. Nketiah came to play. In any way, he didn't play and he left. But even worse, because in 2 situations, I put Bamford on the bench, and in 2 months he was with us and he wasn't able to play. Players do pre-season. One player in 6 months plays 2 matches, thinks he'll arrive at one club, and plays underestimating what Leeds is as a club, a team and an institution. And I mean, he's been saying this about Augustine and match fitness and things, and he's within his rights. If he don't believe man are fit, then man aren't fit. But I have to wonder, why did you go for Eddie then? What weren't you doing in your training session to get him up to fitness or whatever you deemed? What is the real reason Eddie was not preferred over Bamford? For whatever reason, fitness, technique, team shape, all of these things, we'll never know. He said, again, the agreement we did with Arsenal, because players don't go to another team just to play. They go to try and compete with another teammate to play. Because if you're going to be a star at a top club and you cannot deserve one place in one team that is supposed to have a star player of a less level, so you have to find a club that tells you don't have to play whatever happens. The manager who says this lies to him. I'm talking about Nketiah. He'll be a great player, great pro, and he's a great human. Now, Google Translate, I think, on this article did a madness for whoever published this. I can read. But like I said, I don't think Eddie thought he'd have any divine right to play for them, because it'd be nonsense to suggest so. And obviously I agree with that. You can't just take man on. From a selfish point of view, of course, I kind of don't care what happens to Leeds. I want Eddie to play. But come on now, Eddie has no divine right to play. Bielsa, like Arteta or people before him, has his own things as a manager to worry about game by game. It's a bit of pull and both, because Eddie can't just be, we can't just expect Eddie to play, and he can't just play Eddie for the sake of it. He's got his own things to worry about. If he doesn't believe Eddie can help him in his promotion push or help him game by game, that's within his rights. The manager picks the team. But do you get what I'm saying? And from Arsenal's point of view, the Leeds loan didn't help. What can we learn? We got loan manager and things like that. Our loan spells, when we reviewed them in August, what can we learn? What made us pick Leeds? Did we scrutinise Leeds enough or Bielsa enough to know that Eddie might not have been a success? Or how good was the probability? Obviously, if the player says he wants to go there, he wants to go there. But what can we learn? Because, do you get it? What are we learning from these loan spells? Because there's not too many loan spells as an Arsenal player, or as an Arsenal young player I'm looking at and saying, yo, they've been banging and they've come back and it's worked, people. Do you get it? Someone in my comments said Chesney the other day, but there's not been too many. Do you get it? You look at Chelsea, how Mount went to Derby and Vitesse before and it gave him a platform. Reece James doing his thing at Wigan. Do you get it? We've had mixed success. Nelson had a decent loan spell at Hoffenheim, but it was full of trials and tribulations. Then you've got Eddie and you've got several others. But I've got nothing more to add. I've lied to my friend that I'm going to be 10 minutes because I'm not. Forgive me for the unprofessionalism, but on that note, DG, I'm out.